Yo, so that's me again, Callum Hems, with another book review, and today we are reviewing Hunger by Knut Hamsun. Should you read it? Yes, phenomenal. 5, 10 out of 10, 5 stars if you're a star person, 10 rockets out of rockets if you're a rocket person, 20 pound coins out of 20 pound coins if you're a pound coin person. Why did I think it was so good? You know, like, okay, so I read Celine, Journey to the End of the Night before I read this book, and I didn't enjoy Journey to the End of the Night, which is in another video, so just plug in my other video, go check that one out about Celine if you haven't already. Anyway, it got me thinking that maybe that was because of the translation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look into the translation of Journey to the End of the Night, find a different one, and then read it again, but in a different translation, to see if I actually enjoyed it. Because as I was reading Hunger by Knut Hamsun, I was loving the simplistic, I mean, let's not say simplistic, but clear. Every sentence is concise. Every sentence is understandable. There's no waffle. It's very straightforward to read. There's no extra, or at least it feels like there's no extra words, there's no extra explanations. Every sentence is crisp and absolutely understandable, and all of the essential ingredients are there. And there is more than that, because the fact that it is so simplistic is what creates more than that. But if we speak about it in a literary or a poetical way, it's like there's no additional flowery words, there's no spices, but essentially that's what gives it the flavour. It's that simple, flowing sentences which are very readable, and that gives it that brilliance. And because it was originally written in Norwegian, obviously I think that a big deal of that is about the translation. So I've read some like Dostoevsky, and I've discussed this with my Russian friend, that I read Dostoevsky, I think it was, I can't remember the title of it, but it was, it just came to me and then it went, Bob or something. Bob. It's about a cemetery. By Bob. The name's gone, but it's a short story by Dostoevsky about a cemetery, and the translation that I read, I didn't enjoy it. And when I discussed it with a Russian friend, I understood that it was a very, very good short story. So translations really do matter. So the Hunger that I read was translated from the Norwegian of Knut Hamsun by George Egerton. So I read the George Egerton translation. I would hope to read some Knut Hamsun books, some more Knut Hamsun novels, and I will try to find the same translator if he has done translations of other Knut Hamsun books, because I thought it was just great. It was incredible to read. Like I said, the voice, the style, I loved it. It's something that I would like to imitate in my writing. Moving on from that, let's talk about the plot. The plot was great. The plot... Now, I think I got into these type of, like, call them masculine writers through Bukowski. Now I'm coming out of that. Like, the doorway for me was Bukowski, and now I understand that actually Bukowski wasn't the doorway. Bukowski was... one stone in a wall of these stones of authors. God, that's a terrible metaphor. One leaf on this tree, one blade of grass in this field of writers. You get my point. So I was interested in what inspired Bukowski to write. And when I came to these writers, I go, oh my God, some of them are so much better. Like, John Fante, Ask the Dust. What an amazing book. And originally in my head I was thinking, oh, that was the inspiration for Bukowski. Now I understand that, okay, we can almost like take Bukowski at the picture and this is a standalone book. I know that sounds stupid, but I'm just getting there. So the same with Knut Hamsun, amazing, standalone, phenomenal book, way better than Bukowski. It pains me to say that because I love Bukowski, but Knut Hamsun, wow, way better. I mean, this book is clearer, the plot is so much, the plot is tighter, much tighter than a Bukowski novel. Bukowski is quite loose, but it feels to me that hunger flows. Every scene flows onto the next scene. The transitions are extremely well written. The writing is very smooth. You're just riding on a wave the whole way through the book. It took me 4 days to read. I read 50 pages a day. When I came back to read it, for example, I read it on the first day and I was like, wow, this is great. Came back to read it. Wow, this is great. Came back on the third day to read it. Took me a little longer to get in there, but only, when you kind of come from a busy day and then you start reading. But it took me about 2 pages to go whoop and sink back in and get back in the book, which is incredible for a writer to do, to draw you back in like that when you put the book down and then you come back and start reading again. For it to just grab you like that within 1 or 2 pages and get you back into the story is a sign of a very good writer. So that happened. So I don't want to give the plot away. Essentially it is about hunger for everything, hunger for food, hunger for a place to stay, hunger for a woman, hunger for friends, hunger for people, hunger for freedom, hunger for status, hunger for wanting to portray the image of yourself. I mean, hunger for respect, I guess. Every type of hunger you can think of. And he doesn't have any of it. He doesn't have a job, he doesn't have money, he doesn't have a relationship. He has friends that he visits, but they frequently toss him away, tell him to go away, etc. Some great scenes in it. One scene where he's so poor that he takes the buttons off his coat and tries to sell the buttons in a pawn shop, and they reject him and say, we're not going to buy your buttons here. And so you're almost watching the kind of downfall of this man through all of this pain and this misery and this suffering, and you're with him all the way. You're rooting for him, you're egging him on, and you're saying, God, I hope that he makes something good out of this. So I'm not going to spoil the ending. You'll have to read and find out. I do want to speak about the ending. I personally really enjoyed it. So there's that through line there, which just maintains, it just goes the whole way through the story. There's just a through line, and it's a bit like the sun. Is it The Sun Always Rises by Hemingway? Yeah. Where at the end you find out that it's. I'm going to spoil the ending, but you're going to find out that it's always going to be like this. There's no other way that it could be. So that hunger just maintains itself the whole way through the book. It's not like it's a sad ending, it's not like it's a happy ending, but ultimately that never gets resolved. It just is permanently there, and I love that because it's so un-Hollywood, because you're expecting that, he's going to get success at the end of the book, and actually he doesn't. He just carries on. Just his direction changes, but that hunger is still there. Nothing changes. Only his path. So it was a cool ending. I really did think. The beginning is amazing as well. I love the way that you know, he I've been told that you shouldn't start with a character waking up in a room. Well, it starts with him waking up in a room. The reason it's interesting is because the room that he's in is interesting. He's in an attic, and there's things around, and the book describes his alarm clock waking up, the way the attic looks, the way he gets up in the room and then walks out into the town. So when I read the beginning, I thought, wow, this is great. I didn't know who the character was, but we get a look at his surroundings, where he is, and that is what is interesting. His room is interesting. Well, he must be an interesting guy because he lives in this interesting location. And then slowly, out the course of the book, we find out more and more and more and more and more about this character, and there is this awesome like writing style or narration that Knut Hamsun does, and it's the character believes he's one thing, and by the way, the character is never named, and also there's a woman who he falls in love with inside the novel, and she's never named either, which is just great. What a wonderful thing to do in a book. I don't know why it's wonderful to do, but we care so deeply about what happens to this guy, and we don't even know his name. Presumably Knut Hamsun, if it's autobiographical, but we never get his name. We never get. Even there's a line that when he's with the girl that he likes, it says we swapped names with each other, something like that, and then it just moves on and carries on with the story. Well, what are their names? Not important. Because it's the hunger that's important, and it's what the character does about the hunger that's important, not what he's named. And maybe that's also the way that he feels about himself, like entirely worthless, nameless, so down on his luck that he feels nameless. Maybe that's why Knut Hamsun decided to do that. So yeah, right. But so the character keeps saying, "I'm an honest man," but then he goes and he lies to all these people around the town. That's why I love the book. It's the character going around the town and exploring the town and going to different locations and doing different things and going to different shops. So we get a picture of this town or city that he lives in, which is also really interesting to watch that build up over the course of the book. To get a picture of the town is great. So we're finding out more about the city that he lives in. We're finding out about the people that live there with him. We're finding about him as a character who says, "I'm an honest man. I respect myself." And then he goes out and he treats people really badly, and he lies to them, and he takes money from people, not really stealing, but he finds ways around doing things that make him dishonourable, even though he has this very, he believes he's an honest man, but it's very interesting. It's the whole unreliable narrator thing, which I personally don't like that label. I don't feel that it describes this technique very well. I would say this I wrote it down. It's like a contradiction or hypocrite, I think. A hypocritical narrator who says, "I'm honest," and then we actually see from what he does that he's not. So it's a very good read. It's a very, very good read, and I recommend you to read it if you have not already. I feel like I could go on about this book forever, but I'm going to stop there.